Hi there, Ian here, and I've got another tutorial for you, and this is how to make a kind of 2D intro within Cinema 4D. I made one the other day and it came out really well. I really liked it, and I thought I'd share with you some techniques on how to make one of your own. So this is what I made the other day. And it combines quite a few effects, and the overall result's really nice actually. This is all Cinema 4D. There's absolutely nothing else involved. Everything's just basic techniques, but when put together they make this really nice result. And so we'll jump right in. So if you open up Cinema 4D, what you need first is a logo which you've made using paths in Photoshop. So here I have this logo here, which I made for a friend of mine, and then you just need to turn it into a path format. So that's what it was, and just turn it into paths, and just export it as a Illustrator file so it can be put into Cinema 4D. So when you get the file, it should be a file like this. Just drag it on to your scene, just here, and I'm going to put the scale at 3, just because I know this is quite small. And first thing you want to do is make the position the very center, so just put the X and Y position there to 0. You can make it so when you export it here, it's automatically centered, but it always takes this bottom left corner to be the center. It's not that big a deal. As you can see, I just centered it there just by changing them. And you're left with your path here, which obviously doesn't look like anything in a moment. First thing we want to do is, you'd think we'd start off by just putting it in the extrude NURBS, which doesn't look good at all. That's not what we want just yet anyway. Now, I just realised there's something wrong with this. If we go into the front view here, you can see the lines are incredibly jagged, which you can change if you click on it and then click the point mode, which is this one here. You can see there are hundreds of points. If you use the live selection, you can just highlight all of the ones which aren't on corners and delete them. You get a perfectly straight line. I'm going to pause the recording here, just do it quickly, and then come back when that's done. So yeah, I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I'm back now. As you can see, I've got rid of all the jagged lines, so now it's a straight edge here. So if I quickly show you, if I put it into an extrude NURBS, here it's a lot smoother, it looks a lot better. That was a mistake, which happens quite a lot actually in Photoshop. You can see it's already happened here. This is because I wanted to get everything very quickly, so what I did is selected the entire layer, right clicked and said make work path, but doing so you get these horrible lines here. So it's a lot better just to do it all by hand, and so you put a dot there and there and there and there. It takes a bit longer, but the result is a lot better and means you don't have to do all that later in Cinema 4D. So here's our logo, and if we see what I made earlier, you can see the outline comes along, and then it fills itself in, text comes around, and a box is put over the top. So to make the lines kind of almost draw itself, first of all you need to go to this tool here, the spline tool, and go into circle. Now we don't want it as big as this, we actually only want it on 1. And then if you go into the Hyper NURBS section here and you want sweep NURBS. Now you want the circle on top, then your path underneath, and straight away we get this outline. All it does is goes along all the outline of your object here and replaces it with a circle. And so maybe if we zoom in, you can see it's all rounded off here. Each one of these is 1 centimeter thick, which is the radius of the circle. So if we threw this up, you can see it gets a lot bigger, but we only wanted on 1. Now, next we want to almost animate this straight away. You want a camera, so if we just insert a camera here, and if we go into it and make sure you're using the model mode tool here, so you have all the positions here, just zero absolutely everything, and then you just want to zoom out until everything's in sight. Oh, I cocked that one up. And just keep going back until you get something like this. So it's in the very center, completely straight on. And next we animate it, so I'm just going to put the frames up to 150. And then on the 0, if we go into the sweep NURBS, we have all these options here, and if I just remove all the end growth, you can see that's all you have to do to animate it drawing. So we put it on 0, and on the 0, the first frame, holding down Control and just click the little dot here, and that adds a keyframe. Now if we go to say 120, so that's 4 seconds into the animation, and just put this all the way to the top, Control click on it again, and now it draws itself if we play along the timeline. Now I'm not going to bother with all the retiming of it. In the one I made for this guy, I had about 5 or 6 keyframes here, just because it starts off drawing out a bit slow, then really rushes most of it, and then slows down on these little bits here, which I really didn't like. I wanted it to look a lot smoother. But for this example, I'm not going to bother with any of that. Now, the next thing we want to do is you might just want to move the camera up, down a bit, sorry. And so just move it down, making sure that's still at 0. That way you have a bit of space at the bottom here for any text. But what we want to do now is just add a box around this object. So if we go into the spline and rectangle, and it might be easier to do this on the front view, and just pressing T to bring up the transform tool, which is here, just click and drag until the box is larger than the logo here. And then we want to do the same as what we did for the logo. We want to create a circle, this time of a radius of 2, and then sweep NURBS, put the circle in, and then the rectangle, and then we have this box around it. Now if we go back here, now I'm going to make it so on the 60th frame this box is at 0. That means it won't start drawing until 2 seconds in, and then when at about the 100th frame I'm going to put this at 100% and Control click to make another keyframe. So now you can see it comes in and then draws itself, and we have our surrounding box. Now for the text, all I did was went MoText, which is in the MoGraph option here, and put it into the center and move it down. Now what I forgot to do is actually just turn the camera from perspective to front, and so everything's just dead on. That's kind of what you want for a 2D logo. So all you want to do is move the text down, change it to a font you want. For this example, I'm going to use Alien League, I think, yeah. And I'll just type in what I did for the other one and just shrink it down so it's a bit smaller than the outer box. And so we have something like this. Now, to animate this text, all I did was, with the text selected, went to MoGraph Effector Plane and just uncheck position, turn on rotation, and we want this one here on 90, and then scale on uniform scale and -1. And we want that text to appear as this box appears, and so that's on the 59th frame. Make a keyframe on the scale, then go forward 1 frame, which you can use this button here, and change the scale to 0, so that will suddenly appear. And here we want a keyframe on the rotation, and then by the time the box has appeared, so 100th frame, turn the rotation to 0. So now it suddenly appears and turns round at the same time that the box does. Now the final effect I used was creating the fill-in effect. Now that's also really simple to do. First of all, we want to go into the logo sweep NURBS, holding down Control, just drag your path out and it makes a duplicate. We don't want it in the sweep NURBS though. For now we want to just go to extrude NURBS and put the logo in. As you can see, this is completely filled in. Then if we click the top right button so we get different views, what we want to do is just drag the extrude NURBS back a bit, and it won't affect it in the front view because there's no sense of depth, and so you can drag it as far back as you want and it would still be perfectly aligned here. And now what we want to do is go into your cube tool and go plane, change the orientation to +Z, and just resize this until it covers your entire object. And then if we go back here, we can drag this back a bit as well, and now we can see that we have this. It looks a bit rubbish now, that's because we haven't added any materials, but you won't be able to see this when we're done. And what we want to do is, when this is just about to finish drawing, so about here, we want to make a keyframe on the plane object here, and then by the time it's finished drawing, so I'm going to say 118, drag this down so it's completely off your logo and make another keyframe here. So now you can see that it starts to draw it in. So that's all the animation done, and for the textures, there's only 2 textures that we need. To make sure you can't see the plane, you just want to make a completely black object and turn off specular, so it is just a black material, and drag that onto your plane. So now you can see that you can't see it at all, and it looks like this is just filling in. And for everything else, all you want to do is uncheck color, turn on luminance, then glow. Then for this you can put anything. I normally do 40, 50 and about 3, that works fine for me. and just drag that onto the extrude NURBS, the MoText, the sweep NURBS, and the other sweep NURBS. And so we get this white outline which fills in perfectly. If we go to here, you can see it starts to draw, and as you go along, everything comes into place and it works perfectly. The amazing thing about this intro is, I'll just prove to you, we just change this to 720 HD, so you might need to resize the camera just so it all fits in. I'll just render it out for you after I've made it so it does all the frames. You can see it goes so fast just because there's so little involved. There's no real 3D involved, and it's gone for 13 seconds now. We're a third of the way through. It's a really good intro if you just want a quick one, and you don't want to have a really fancy 3D one. This probably looks a bit more professional than most 3D intros. So you can see in under a minute we've done 150 frames of animation. And that's it really. You might want to spend a bit longer retiming it, because as you can see that draws a lot way too fast. That bit comes down a bit too quick, but this is just the general idea behind it. As you can see, it's really basic, and it's amazing what you can do in Cinema 4D. Really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope it's not been too long. Should be quite easy to follow. So yeah, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. I'll release a lot more tutorials soon. And yeah, comment and like the video, it really does help. Thanks for watching. This has been Ian, and see you next time.